Welcome to Javo's Garage. Today we're going to be doing an unboxing, assembly, and review of the 2-ton engine crane that's being offered over at Harbor Freight. Now, when I went to their website and started to do some research on it before I bought one, I noticed they had 3 different item numbers on it. Now, I ran into this kind of a thing back when I picked up my engine stand, the 1-ton engine stand, and when I started going through the specifications and actually got a few of them and tested them out, I discovered that one of those actually had some significant advantages and features over the other, and it made it a better choice. So I started to wonder if we had the same situation with their engine cranes here. So what I did do is I went out and I picked up 2 of these different cranes, and we're going to get them assembled here today so we can actually do a side-by-side comparison and see if there's any differences and see if there's any kind of advantage to one over the other. So what I'm going to do is we're going to get these unboxed. We're going to do a few quick comparisons there. I'm going to go through and show you how to do an assembly of one of these, and then I'll do a time lapse assembling the other. We'll set them side by side. Let's see what the differences are between the two and the lifting heights and whatnot. I don't want to waste a lot of time. Let's get this out of the box. Let's get it assembled, and then let's see how well they work. So we now have both of our engine cranes. We have the covers taken off so we can kind of get a real good side-by-side comparison. This one here comes with kind of a smaller assembly and owner's manual, if you will. And what's nice is this one has the full-size manual, but when you take a look at the differences on the 60388, this box here is basically all your parts. It's kind of already torn on here, and hopefully everything's in here and hasn't slidden down the box. But as opposed to on the 69514, and boy is this great, they actually have, like, all the parts are wrapped in plastic here. They're clearly labeled so you know which bolt is which size, all your fasteners. It's going to make it so much easier to be able to get this assembled. Now, the other thing I noticed too is when you actually go inside the manual, if you actually get these separated in here, they even have a breakdown on the different sizes of the bolts in here as well to assist you as you put it together. So in terms of being able to put it together, this one definitely is a far better and easier project to be able to do over this one here. Other than that, everything looks pretty good on both of these, and they're ready to get assembled. So we're going to get this one assembled, and I'm going to go through and show you step by step, and then we'll do a time lapse on this one and do our comparison. So we're going to get started with getting our base put together. Now, in our manual here, and I'm going to try and follow their steps in here. If we go to step 1, it says to actually slide the legs in the front of the base. Now, unfortunately, what they did is they completely skipped over installing the wheels on the base. So we're going to start with that. So inside the box, you'll see you have 4 wheels. You have 2 that are a smaller size. These here are 3-inch, and then you actually have 2 that are a larger size. These are like 3 3/8, 3.5 inch. And so what happens is the smaller ones are going to go up here in the front, where you already have the fasteners with the lock washers installed, and these are threaded up here. So all you'll have to do is take these out, set them in place, and then go ahead and tighten them up. In the rear, you're going to need to get the fasteners out, and if you go to your little kit here, you'll see over here on one side it says hex bolt M8 by 20, and there's 8 of those with lock washers. Those are what you need to secure the rear wheels, and then the nuts are located over here on this side. So we'll go ahead and get this out of here and put it together. One thing I wanted to mention that I noticed though is inside this particular box, and be careful, there is just a lot of slag. I don't know if you can hear that when I drop. I mean, a lot of slag, to the point where I can tilt the box back and forth and you can just hear it rolling around in here. What's happened is, unfortunately, that's got down in the bearings of the wheels, and that's a pretty bad thing because you have that now inside of all those wheel bearings inside of those ball bearings. So what I'm going to do actually is that we're still going to assemble it, but when I get done, I'm going to have to hit this with compressed air and then try and go back in and re-lubricate all these bearings. But as you do yours, be careful and watch that. But there is a substantial amount of slag. It's just everywhere inside of here. So be careful for that. So let's get everything out here, lay it on the table, and we'll go ahead and get our wheels installed. So now we're going to remove these. These fasteners are a 14 millimeter. We're just going to take them out, place the wheels on, tighten them back down. So now what it calls for is we need to go ahead and install our legs here into the base. Now you only have your Pittsburgh sticker on one side of these legs, so if you want to do everything properly, just go ahead and make sure that your sticker is on the outside. You're just going to go ahead and set this into position. And I'm trying to keep my head out of the way here, but you have your locking pins here. And we'll go ahead and set those in. And you'll have to lift up on the front to get those to go through. Then you have your R clips here, and those will go through the hole on the end of your pin just to secure it in position. Do the same thing up here. So we have this side installed. We'll just kind of set that there. And it doesn't matter, you could do one pin first and then the other. Probably easier if you start with the back one. You see we have that in position. Now we'll go ahead and put that clip just right in here so it holds it in position. Now we're back up here. And there we have it. We have our legs installed. So now we're ready to go on to step 2, which is actually going to be to attach our post here to the base. Now, if you take a look at your diagram, it shows to use the number 8 bolt to actually secure that, and there's 2 of them. If you go back to page 4, you'll see that part number 8 is a 14 by 100 millimeter bolt. So I'm just going to lightly set this. Go ahead and drop one of our bolts here, and that'll kind of help hold it for me since I'm doing this all by myself. So now you can see we have this on. We haven't tightened anything at all. You don't want to do that. Leave it like this at this point so we can get the next step done. So we're now moving on to step 3, which is going to be actually installing our supports along with our handle up here. Now hopefully you can kind of see this here from your angle, but you'll see how this has a curve down at the bottom. What you want is you want that curve to be down here against the frame and have it curve back up towards your support like you see here. Now for the bottom, your instructions here call to secure that with bolt number 15. Bolt number 15 is the 16 by 100 that's in your packet. And then on the top, you're going to have your handle and then both of your support brackets again. And those actually use the bolt number 16, and that's going to be your longest one. That is a 16 by 110 millimeter up there. So we're going to go ahead and just lightly get those installed now. And I'm going to just kind of set this in position. Now those are just lightly set. So here I have my 110 millimeter along with a washer and the nut. And then I also have my handle. Now the order these are supposed to go is your handle is going to go to the inside and then your bracket goes to the outside of it. So I'm going to go ahead and now you'll see one of the reasons you want to leave this loose is now we have the ability to move this around and adjust these so that they all line up. One of the biggest complaints people talk about when they assemble these is the fact they couldn't get these holes to line up, and part of that's because they're tightening it up as they go and there's no room to have any play to get it assembled. So we're going to start here on this side. I'll get this bolt put in here. We're just going to start lining these up. And there we have it, and we'll put the nut and washer here on the other side. Finger tighten it. And let me go grab my ratchet and some wrenches and we'll tighten these down. So now I'm hoping this different angle will help give you a better idea. So we have everything in here. Everything is still loose at this point, so that way I was able to easily get all these to where all the holes lined up and I could go ahead and get my fasteners installed. Now when I go to tighten up the top, you want to just make sure and straighten out your handle up here. It's hanging down right now, so we'll take care of that. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start with tightening up a bit down here, and then we'll just kind of work our way out and then work our way up. Now these are a 24 millimeter, so you're going to need a 24 millimeter wrench or an adjustable to be able to do it. About the only 24 millimeter socket I have is my impact, so I have actually turned down my impact gun so it's not going to go too crazy, and I'm going to use that along with my wrench to just go ahead and secure all of our fasteners. Okay, so now I'm going to go back through and tighten those up. That's really loud with my impact here in the garage. So I'm going to go get some hearing protection. We'll get these tightened up. Next step is for us to go ahead and install the boom. Now in this case it tells us to use bolt 16, which again is the M16 by 110 millimeter. So we'll just kind of set this in here. We're going to run that through. I'm going to lightly set it down. Go ahead and put the nut and washer on. And we'll tighten that up a bit. You don't want to tighten this up too tight, because if you cinch it down onto your boom, it's not going to want to raise and lower. Perfect. So now that we have our boom installed, we're ready to go ahead and install the ram. So now for this one, our instructions tell us you're going to need bolt 20 for the bottom, which is down here, and you're going to need bolt 11 for the top. Now the bottom bolt, bolt 20, is the M16 by 90, and then your top one is the M16 by 80. So just remember, longer bolt goes in the bottom, shorter bolt goes in the top. So I got my bolt here and I have my washer and nut. I did this time get a helper come out because this ram is really heavy, and he's going to kind of lift it in place, and I'll go ahead and set the nut in there. And in this case, yeah, go ahead. You can't really, I guess, install it wrong. You want to put your pumping mechanism here to the outside. There we go. So that's on. Now let me take this on and go ahead and raise it up into here. Oh, it won't yet. Okay, that's fine. Let's just hold that for 1 sec. Let me go ahead and put the washer and nut. Just pump that up. That way it just lines up with our holes here. How's that?
Anything wrong? Oh, beautiful.
And there we have it. Now once again, same principle here with both of these. You want to tighten them down, but you don't want to go too tight, because this ram moves as this boom comes up and down. So don't go too crazy with that. We'll just get him secured. So go ahead, Luke. I'm going to have him pump this up just a little bit more, and we'll go ahead and put our extension in. And we have our extension secured. So primarily now we have gone ahead and assembled our shop crane. So now the next thing I am going to do here is I'm just going to get these tightened up, this one here and down here. So our final step here before we put our shop crane actually into service is we're going to want to go through and just give it a bleed and make sure everything's good. Now we have it up here a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and open our relief valve here and bring this down all the way and just leave that open. Then I'm going to, right up here is your fill cap, your little rubber cap here for the ram. And we'll go ahead and remove that. So it looks like that. Now that we have that out, what I'm going to do is I just have my hydraulic oil. I'm going to go ahead and add some to that to where it's just starting to weep or seep a little bit there out the fill hole, so I know it's completely full. Now we'll go ahead and pump it real quick several times. We now have both of our shop cranes assembled and they're ready to go. Now go ahead and meet me over in part 2 of this video series where I'm going to be doing an in-depth side-by-side comparison of these two models. I'll get into some of the specs of these two shop cranes as well as do some testing, show you some of the improvements that I made that make them work a bit better for you, as well as do a final review. I'll place a link to the video for you here now as well as in the description. I look forward to seeing you there.